I'm One Exchange for Student Pages. Hope you're all doing very well once again today. Today we have a very special guest for you guys. We are here with Tom A. Smith. How's it going?
Very good. How are you?
I'm very good, Tom. So, you're 21 years old. You're currently on tour. You've been to Glastonbury twice, BBC Radio 1's Big Weekend. You've appeared on BST Hyde Park, which you were invited by Elton John. Opened Leeds Fest. Really incredible achievements, can I say, for your age? It's like that is genuinely mind blowing. I read this earlier, was doing my research, and I was like, that is literally insane.
Yeah, no, it does sound a little bit mad when anyone ever repeats it to me. But I've been going for quite a while. Even though I am only 21, I've been on stage since I was 8. So it's like I've done the same as anyone else, just a few years earlier. It's an exciting time at the moment, but no, it is a pretty special when I hear you go through all of that sort of stuff. So no, it feels good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As I say, so you've done so much already. If you could just give us like a bit of a background into how you got into music and what the catalyst was that propelled you to the point where you are now.
Yeah, well, I started getting guitar lessons when I was 4. My dad was always like a big fan of music. He was never like musician, couldn't play anything, but music was always just on in the house. And yeah, I started getting guitar lessons when I was 4, and every single week they used to come round and play a bit of FIFA, play a bit of football, and then we'd do like a 10-minute guitar lesson at the end. And that gradually grew to more and more. Then I started getting guitar lessons off a guy called Barry Hyde from the Futureheads, who is an absolute Macam local legend to me. I had my first gig when I was 8, and yeah, since then it's just sort of was playing pubs and clubs and all that. Well, anything that would let us play really for a while, and I did like pub gigs where you'd get a free pint if you played, but I was like 9, so they'd give us like a free pulled pork sandwich or something instead. So I was doing like all the time, just any time I could be on stage, and was fortunate enough to open for like Catfish and the Bottlemen and James Bay and that when I was growing up at like 12 and that. And then lockdown hit and I really started going in on like songwriting and honing in my craft and that sort of aspect of it all because I had nothing else to do. It was my GCSE year, so they roll out the window. So I was just sat about playing Warzone every day, not actually doing anything productive until I just decided that, you know what it is, I'm going to treat it like a 9 till 5 and record and write every day. But yeah, that sort of got me to here.
It's crazy to hear just how many people like kickstarted what they're doing now during COVID. It's like I hear
Yeah.
it quite a lot, and it's like it makes so much sense. I just think it's fascinating that when we're all stuck inside and couldn't do anything, I think people who had any sort of creative vision just went into absolute overdrive because they had
Yeah,
the
totally.
chance to.
No, for sure. And for me, it was literally just this is a perfect opportunity for me now to get to the stage of being a songwriter and really, I've sort of building a little home studio. Not really much, like it was just a little interface and Logic, and that was it. But it eventually is just sort of I've now produced for the most part produce my own tracks and stuff like that, or co-produce one of the two. And yeah, so for me, that was just a whole massive learning era of learning to produce and learning to arrange songs and record songs and write as well. I think I've got like when I left lockdown, I had like 250 songs fully recorded, like demoed and done. So now the SoundCloud link has it's got about just over 800 on, I think, which is pretty insane. So it's quite hard when I'm gonna have to nail down what I'm gonna do for an album, what songs are going and what I'm making it. That was just that time for me just to really go in on that and work out what I wanted my sound to be, which has still taken a while. And I think it's only recently that I've really sort of had a bit more of an idea of what I want my sound to be. But no, that was I think for a lot of artists was an important time to really just hone in on something and be creative.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, you've evidently found your sound as well. I mean, with your new single Fashion, that's just come out. I mean, tell us a bit more about like that track and what the inspiration was behind it. And what was it like? Because I believe you worked with Barry Hyde again on that song and Ali Chan. So how did making that song develop your creative process, would you say?
It first came about because I had a chat with Dave Stewart from Eurythmics, who, was really supportive of me. And he actually joined us on stage at my hometown show in Sunderland the other day. He joined us for a song, which was special. But he said to me, he
Awesome.
used to just, with like Sweet Dreams, he just would write a blues line on a guitar or something like that, and then just put it on a synth bass, and that would be like the bass line. And I'd be like, all right, okay, sort of makes sense. I'll try that. And literally, the first thing I played with Fashion is that synth bass line here in the background. And from there, it literally took probably an hour and a half, 2 hours to write and make. Obviously, just the demo version, but yeah, that it was just so quick. It was just one of those ones that just fell out the sky, really. And It's sort of got this sort of witty charm about it. It sort of talks about how strange we view sort of designer products and looking good when we go out and all that sort of stuff, and how strange that is that when we can't even afford to do anything, we'll then just spend 110 quid on a pair of shoes when we can't even afford to buy drinks or do anything anyway or live. It's just sort of strange. But yeah, that was a whole sort of commentary on that. Since then, all right, well, the song just sort of flew up to the top of the priority list really in terms of songs that I felt like, okay, this was something about it. Then I started writing more songs with that sort of sound that we may hear in the future. And yeah, I got in touch with Barry about it, seeing if I could, because he's got an incredible studio in Sunderland called Birdland Studios, which is he has a school called Name where the studio's upstairs and it's a pub downstairs and all that stuff. It's a real great like cultural hub in Sunderland. And I went there and me and my drummer Fraser tracked the drums and recorded the track in about 5 hours and just bottled it out. And it was then I went over to Bristol with Ali to mix it with him. And yeah, it was like done within a week. But well, I've had the song for about 11 months now. Oh no, I wrote it on New Year's Day actually. So that was like the first thing I did. I
Oh,
should have been hungover, but I wasn't. I didn't really have much the night before, so I just woke up and wrote it. But then it sort of just sat there at the top for a while, and then we got to about April time when I recorded it. But yeah, it's been a bit of a journey that one, but it all just seemed to work out really well. And Barry was so excited to do, and as was I, excited to work with each other because we hadn't really done that before. But no, I'm super pleased with it, and the response we've got so far has probably been the best yet. So, no, it's exciting times.
that's absolutely awesome to hear. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It always shocks me every time I hear just like how long songs have been in development because I think it's fascinating just how long it can take from going from like the original stages of what because obviously when you start out, I assume like the goal is to figure out what sort of tone you're going for, that
Totally.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then going from that to the release and just how long it takes for a single song blows my mind every time because you just assume it doesn't take as long as like a whole year, but it often isn't. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, well, a lot of songs, well, even some of the stuff that of mine you might hear soon, they've been in the work for much longer than that, and it's always just like, especially when it comes to actually releasing the track, you upload it, and then there's probably a month of promoting it before you even release the track, and then after that there's all the other stuff as well. But no, there's a long time going into it. It's always such a weird feeling getting ready to release something because it's almost like, oh wait, now that everyone's got it, doesn't have that excitingness it had about it anymore. But this one's felt different, and it's the momentum on it has really kicked on and sort of stayed exciting and relevant to me.
No, it's dope to hear, honestly. As I say, congratulations on getting it out finally. It's like massive, massive achievement. So, I mean, from your perspective, then, because again, I think every artist sort of has a different take on their own music in this sense. How would you actually describe your music, and what do you think makes it stand out from its genre?
I couldn't really pin it on a genre really because it's a mix of things, but for me, especially with this sort of sound and these tracks, I'd probably go for angry electric mac and punk is probably the way I'd go for it. There's so
Mm.
many things that influencing it and so many things that are going on with it that it's hard to really say. But I think what makes them distinctive is I do have quite a distinctive voice within it all. It's like the delivery in it is quite distinctive, and I think I can sort of like test the waters with many different sounds and many different styles and keep it within me just because of like my voice and the way that I deliver tracks. I'm not actually an incredible singer really. I just sort of scream things all the time, but it has a sort of attitude about it which I think really lends itself to that track. But yeah, I'd say it just sort of it's in your face. But then again, there's going to be other tracks that are released that are totally different in terms of its demeanor, but sonically may follow a similar sort of path. Sort of gone back to my roots with it really. And when I sort of grew up, I was listening to the Cure LCD sound system, that sort of stuff.
Mm.
Over the last sort of couple of years, I sort of shifted away, and I was listening to a lot of other things that never necessarily really inspired me to pick up guitars in the first place or instruments. And now over the last sort of year, I've really just what just feels totally natural when I pick up an instrument, and those sort of bands like that are those catalysts for it really. But no, it feels like there's something really fresh and a new era about what I'm doing at the moment, which is exciting to to be moving along with now.
Yeah, no, and it totally comes across as well. I think I forgot to point this out earlier, but I think actually the theme you went with for the song about like designer brands and how people are so obsessed with them and stuff. I think that's such a fascinating topic for a song because I feel like that's something that's been explored in other mediums, like film and stuff. But I tell you, I've heard a lot of songs about a lot of different things. I actually don't think I've ever heard a song about that. And I think that's very interesting because obviously, huge point of contention,
Yeah, yeah.
societally and
Oh,
stuff.
totally.
And yet you just don't hear about it, do you? So no, I think that was a
No.
really, really original take on
I
an
try to make
idea
it
that's
really
very out there.
totally. I try to make it really subtle in its nature. You know, the chorus is basically just saying, doesn't matter what else is going on in my entire life. I might have no money. I can't afford to buy a drink because, well, it's jokingly said, and we can't afford these London prices in the verse. But I can't afford to do anything, have food or anything like that, or just basic things. But who cares? Because I look cool right now. And it's like sort of saying that sort of thing. But yeah, I suppose I'd never really hear about that sort of. It was one of those songs where like the story just sort of developed as I went with it. I didn't really sit down and plan this is what I'm going to be writing about. But as I sort of wrote the story, because it was just like about going out initially, but then as it sort of went on, that's where the narrative sort of came in. But it is an interesting talking point at the moment. So no, it was as I say, it just sort of fell out of the sky. It just came from nothing.
No, no, it's awesome. Honestly, like again, just huge props for being able to come up with something so out there. So I think that's really, really cool.
Cheer that.
So no, no, of course. So going a little bit more into you then and like your background and history, what was the response from the people around you, like family and friends? Because again, obviously, given that you've got quite a unique situation that you went into it so young, what was the response, I suppose, even at that time, to you, taking this huge leap into music at such a young age? What was the response like from the people around you?
Well, my family were always incredibly supportive. I've been really lucky to have a super supportive family. You know, even like now, they'll just let us make so much racket all day in here and just make so much noise and just be totally just the most irritating thing in the world. Like our neighbours come and knock on the door sometimes and tell us to turn it down. No, they've been super supportive. Obviously, growing up, like your friends and that don't quite understand what it means to like be doing. Didn't quite understand what it was. I'd like come in from school and to school, and the night before I just opened for Cabbage and the Bottom Men at the O2 Academy in front of 2,500 people. I was like some 12-year-old. I mean, I was just like it was just a nice favour from them, you know. We knew, fortunate enough to know Johnny Bond because he lives quite local to us. But yeah, it never quite understood. Like young people never, friends never quite understood what it meant. Obviously, until now, when you get a bit older and you start getting into music a little bit more. But no, I think it was just nice for myself and my family. We get to go to like festivals together, and that I'd been asked to play, and you know they were always super supportive of me. But no, it's been fortunate for the people that I've had around us. I think, I've grown up my whole life in Sunderland. I've lived here my whole life, and the people around us have been super supportive.
No, no, that's fantastic. I've always said I think it's very nice to have a support circle. I think that's something you need if you're going into something as scary an industry as music,
Yeah,
because it is a big, big wild world out there. And I think, yeah,
of
having
course.
people around you that, sort of, whether or not they understand it, so long as they're there for you through it and,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
try and support you, I think that's always a wonderful thing to have. And I mean, especially so actually, because next thing I wanted to go on to is sort of criticism of your art, because I don't know whether you've had any run-ins with it, but I was curious as to if you have experienced like any online, because again, it's a ridiculous space out there online now. People will comment anyone's art form and just try and diss it in any way they can. Have you had many run-ins with sort of criticism online or bullying or anything like that?
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. No,
Mm.
I've had a fair share. When I was younger, a lot of things I used to put on used to do quite well on social media and like on Twitter and all that stuff. Used to go a bit viral, and there was always just like angry mans, not too pleased about things. But no, it's I think you've got to expect it. I think things that people hate, people love. And if you're not causing that distribution or like sort of like shaking the ground, and some people liking it, some people not. Maybe it's just too middle of the road and it's not particularly exciting or whatsoever. So if somebody hates it, somebody loves it. Obviously, coming in the boundaries of how many people hate it, it might just be really bad if a lot of people hate it. But I've always had. an overwhelming amount of more support than I've had negativity, and I think that's just the way you got to look at it. Some people have a funny way of being jealous and or a funny way of putting across the way they feel, and I think it's a shame, because you see an awful lot of it. I definitely know people who've had it worse than I have, but yeah, it's you see it all the time, and I think it's just important that you sort of silence it and don't get involved with it. And I always quite like seeing it, to be honest. Occasionally, just it makes us laugh sometimes seeing some sort of bitter negative comment, but I just think, it's part of it. And as I say, if there's people that hate it, there's probably people who love it as well. So that's the way I always look at it.
Yeah, as you should. It's always the old man yells at cloud type thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, and again, you say you had things that got big on Twitter back in the day. That is a cesspool and a half. So
Oh,
it's
totally.
like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think, yeah, I think to be able to deal with Twitter, especially at a younger age, it's like props to you. Honestly, I don't know if I'd have go.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's been a real like mix, but recently I think more so now there's a real overwhelming amount of positivity about everything I'm doing, and it's very rare that I see anything that's too negative. But you're always going to get it, and you've always got to expect it, really. But no, it's just not even worth entertaining.
Right. It's like you said it. It's like I think if you have no one dogging on what you're doing, you're probably doing something wrong to some degree. I
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
totally agree with that perspective. It's like, yeah, it's like if you haven't got people that wish they were you, it's like, well, what are what are you? It's like, what are you doing?
Oh, I know what you mean.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
no, absolutely. I mean, so go on then. On a similar sort of note, have you had any personal experiences that have been particularly like damaging to you that you think have made its way into your music and your craft? Like, if you had any real life experiences that you've sort of turned into, basically given an outlet through music?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's tough, I suppose. So there's always just negativity surrounding a lot of things, but I don't ever actually let it bother me remotely, so I'm not really sure if there has been overwhelmingly any sort of criticism that has taken a massive, part of my life that I've put into things. Back in the day, I used to like write like a little song about like, I don't know, people who get like sort of like over familiar and then think you're like your best friend when you're replying to them on Twitter and all that sort of and all whatever, and now like they just like know you and get offended by anything you do,
Hmm.
where if you haven't entertained anything. But I just think it's so little and so meaningless that it's like, you know, and at the end of the day, they are just trying to be supportive and they're just trying, I don't know how to put it across. So I try not to let any of it take any sort of precedence in what I do, because I know what I like writing about. I know what I enjoy creating. I only do because I enjoy it. So if I just let all the negativity be a part of what I do, then I just think I wouldn't enjoy it as much.
Yeah, no, good as you should. It's like, yeah, no, absolutely focus on like the successes because there's obviously, like you've said, it's like there's been significantly more for you than there has the downfalls. It's like, I think
Yeah.
you've got so much to celebrate in what you've done that it's like, yeah, absolutely. It's like you deserve to be able to focus on that. You know what I mean? It's like, no, like, I don't think you should let anything get you down at that point. So, I mean, again, we touched briefly on social media, but I'm curious as to what your relationship with it is because I think a lot of people see it as this necessary evil that they have to use to promote their work or whatever. But I think again, it's obviously such a useful tool. So, what's your perspective on using it? It's like, are you a fan, or do you see it as something you just sort of have to do?
I just think, yeah, I just like it. I think it's great. I spend like my whole time on it. Everyone does. I think it's such an amazing tool that we have for free that you can just it can be used to you. You can use it as much or as little as you want. Obviously, there is its downside that it now is becoming you have to be just this social personality all the time. But I think it's a great way of making your art different and making and a different avenue of trying to be creative instead of just it all about being a songwriting. If you want it to be that, that's fine. You can still do that. There's still plenty of bands and artists now that aren't having this crazy TikTok or social media like sort of like bombarding you with it, that are doing successful by just having great songs and great music that is and creating a fan base from like live shows, which I still think is the most important part. Getting around, playing shows, getting in front of people is I do think is more key and more important than social media, in terms of gaining a fan base and people who are going to go to your shows, and because that's unfortunately that is just where the money is with music is people coming to your shows and buying merch and being a an actual fan instead of just having a few million followers on TikTok and then selling 50 tickets for a show that for people that aren't going to go because they just see you online. But yeah, I think it's such a great tool for you to be able to. And I enjoy it. I've got like two TikTok accounts. I've got a main one, and I've got like Tom B Smith, where we just do like ridiculous stuff on there. We did like a Robbie Williams TikTok the other day because we played with him just before my Come Together festival in Newcastle, and he didn't play Candy in his set, and we just put a TikTok on. We were saying like, why is everyone leaving? He hasn't played Candy yet, and he got like 100,000 views overnight. And I just think
Oh, no.
it's just like stuff like that, man. I just think it's fun and just easy to do, and you can, as I say, get following create a fan base that you can put your music in front of without actually having to sit and bombard and create loads of music content. You can do things your own way and try things, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. And I think it's such a free tool that you can use for as much or as little as you want, really.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, that's a really awesome, fresh perspective, actually, because again, I think I've spoken to a lot of people recently who really have had this very, negative view on it. But it's interesting because it's like, yeah, I really don't think, I'm sort of with you on that one. It's like, I don't really think it needs to be, It's like at the end of the day, it's down to you whether you use it or not, or how much you use it. And yeah, I think so long as you're in control and stuff, yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that you're gonna want to use to get your name out there.
Totally.
So I think something I'm curious about as well about you specifically outside of the music, what do you do to fill your time? Because I think a lot of people become so hyper focused on like their work and their craft that they don't leave a lot of time for themselves. Do you? And if you do, it's like, is there anything that you're into aside from music?
Yeah, I mean, I just now sound like just such a little nerd, but I am a proper gamer. Not much more used to than I do now. Where I can find time, but I'm a big Sunderland fan as well, so I try to get myself to like Sunderland games and all that sort of stuff too. But yeah, unfortunately, it is probably gaming is the other thing I do.
I am not one to judge when it comes to video games, honestly. I'm curious, what games do you play? Is there any that you play quite a lot?
Well, I used to be like insanely good at FIFA. When I was like 12, I was in the top 0.5% of players in the world. Um,
Blimey heck.
Online, yeah, I got like the beta codes for like and alpha codes for like FIFA 18 and that like 3 4 months before it came out to like test everything and try. Like, it was I used to be a yeah, I've sort of lost me it's quite sad when I go on now when I'll get beat with someone that has 2015 in their username and I'm like, oh man, that was me once. But no, it's that was always what it used to be. Nowadays it sort of changes. I've got the Switch 2 now, so I quite like all of that stuff now as well. I've sort of because obviously it's like handheld. I'm just going tour with it and bring it with us and pretty avid of the new Mario Kart and all that sort of stuff. So I'm on that a bit, but I used to love like all the Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim and all that. But used to play all of those, but yeah, I'm now don't put as much time into it as I used to. But for the most part, still I come home and I sit in here for 10 hours and write and record, and then maybe we'll do a bit of gaming at the end of the night. But who knows? For most part, I'm just sat in here. But where I can, find the time, I do. But that and going to see Sunderland is my main thing. Home and away as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, as you should. No, yeah, it's interesting that one. I don't know. I think gaming's such like an easy outlet as well. I think it's very accessible these days. And yeah, no, I would try and shun that one. It's like I'm sure it's a lot more common, especially in your industry.
No,
Again, it's
totally.
like as I say, because it's so easy to pick up. It's like yeah, you need something like that realistically, given how busy you are 24/7.
Sweet, because whenever we go away, it's very rare that we actually meet anyone who does anything like that. Occasionally, you'll see a band that have like a PlayStation on their bus and that. I remember talking to Miles Kane, and we were quite drunk, and I was talking about Fortnite. So wow, I don't know how the conversation came up. But then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm playing that Ghost of Tsushima at the moment." I was like, "Fair play, that's really cool. That's a great game." But yeah, I don't meet many people who do on the road, but we certainly do, and we did like a 30-day tour a couple of years ago, and I brought like the Xbox and that, and every travel lodge it was getting plugged in, and we were like playing Forza and that. So no, it's we try to bring it around as much as possible. It's either that or we're sat in dressing rooms around my phone watching the Sunderland game, just before we go on stage. And I have been known to actually have my phone on stage in front of me monitor with the match on, while I've been on, while it's been clapping. So,
That's commitment. That is.
oh,
That's
totally,
unreal.
totally. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you made me sad by the way when you said that you get beat by people on FIFA now, like with your age, because it's like God. I
No,
mean,
it is.
you mentioned Fortnite, didn't you? It's like what I've got 640 skins and about 3 wins over 7 years. It's like God, it's so depressing.
Oh no, I used to be good back in the day, but now it's all the building, man. I can't keep up like I used to. Um, so oh well, growing up a bit, I suppose.
Happens to the best of us, don't it? We're reaching old status between us, honestly. Right, so I mean, yeah, go on. Getting back into music then. What advice have you got for students that want to do what you do? Because I think a lot of people are pursuing music at your age, around the 20s and stuff. You started a lot younger, but from your experience then, given that obviously you've had it for almost a lifetime, realistically,
Yeah.
what advice from that perspective would you have as far as developing it from this point forward?
The main thing for me is you've got to commit to it and you've got to work hard. It's like you got to enjoy it, and I think that goes hand in hand. You're not going to work hard and go for something that you don't enjoy doing anyway. But you've got to dedicate a lot of time to it, and you got to. It's a lot of work. I think there's two things in the world everyone wanted to be growing up, and that's either a footballer or a rock star. And that was just like everyone you knew was like one of them two. And so it's a lot of competition. There's a lot of work there. Try and be authentic as possible. Like it's no good trying to be somebody else because you can see right through it. And there was such a long time I was sort of doing things and it didn't feel like it was me that much, and I was like just trying to put on this sort of crazy elaborate like view, and it just wasn't me. And now that I've brought it and made it a bit more authentic and write about the things you want to write about, that I want to write about, it's become a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable. But yeah, I was like, make sure you try your best to find. I know it's so difficult because there's no money in it whatsoever, and you got to have jobs and you got to make money. It's like it's so important. Like you got to where you can try and make the time for it, do and dedicate as much time to it as you can if you really want to do it. But I think, as I said before, if you enjoy it, that goes hand in hand with it. But I think the key ones is yeah, be authentic, be yourself, and don't feel like you have to be doing like socials like all the time. It's like is this like this is the only thing you need to do and get that right. Make sure you get your sound right and get your songs right, and write what you want to write about, um, and use social media in a way that it works for you and you can enjoy it. Um, but no, there's a lot of competition out there. So the more that you can be yourself, and that'll make you stand out more, I think. So keep it authentic.
Yeah, totally. No, fantastic advice. It's like, yeah, keep true to yourself. So I think this is a really big open-ended question, actually. I'll be interested to see how you answer it. What would you say throughout your entire process has been the biggest challenge of your career so far?
I think, first of all, getting Spotify to put me on any playlist, that'd be nice. It's no, the biggest challenge really is for me early on. It was finding out how I'm going to make myself stand out in a live perspective, like on stage. There's a lot of bands go out on stage. You just them and a guitar, and it's always a bit like copy and paste with everyone, inspired by the same things. And for me, like guitar has always been what I've enjoyed playing the most and love to do that. But the difficult thing for me was like trying to move away from that and become a bit more of a front man and a bit more of a performer. And I spent a lot of time over the last sort of 2 or 3 years really going in on that, and I'm still not quite probably where I want to be in terms of how crazy and confident and elaborate it can be because obviously I know how confident I am, but it's just how do I make this show feel more out there and more like myself. And that was like something for a while where it's like just trying things, maybe ditching the guitar for a song, or and moving around a bit. And for me, it was just trying to make the performance and the stage show feel like you're watching something really fresh. I feel like you're watching something really raw, and that it just felt all totally natural. And a lot of time and effort has gone into that. We've done a lot of shows over the last sort of 4 or 5 years, and it just feels like it is like taking a step forward every time. But yeah, that was the main thing that I sort of struggled with early on was like, how do we get this right? Because it's so difficult to put on an incredible live show, a brilliant live show, because it's just you can go and see a gig every night anywhere. and how do you make yourself stand out in that way?
No, no, absolutely. It's like at the end of the day, if there's nothing unique about your voice and like what you produce, people aren't going to pay any attention to it, are they? Yeah. So no, 100% being unique, being able to find that voice. I think it's something that I think any artist trying to develop anything will at some point have to come to a crossroads of trying to actually define what that is. I think
Yeah,
it's great that you're getting there. It's like massive congratulations. It's like I think you're doing an
that's it.
absolutely incredible job so far, and I can only see it going up. And I mean, on a similar note, now's your chance. What are you working on right now? You've obviously got fashion out now. What can we expect next? And yeah, because you're on tour as well, so much going on. Fill us in.
No, totally. So on Friday we are playing Bridleton by the Sea, which I can't wait for. I've not played Bridleton Spa yet, in the main room anyway. And my dad saw one of Oasis's last shows there, before that obviously came back and this year. And he's always raved about how incredible the venue it is. So I'm really excited to play that one on Friday. Then we've got One Tenable Festival the day after, which is going to be amazing as well. And yeah, it's there is going to be some more. I've been working really hard at writing. I can't tell you quite yet what it is, but I'm sure soon enough I can. But I'm super excited about it all, and a lot of work's been put into it. And yeah, it's going to be a really exciting end to the year. And it's quite frustrating because I just know how much there is, but that I can't say. And I feel like I'm always in this situation where I'm like, I can't tell you what's going on, but there is.
NDAs be damned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I can't say how, but there is definitely going to be certainly some new music, definitely by the end of the year. I'm going to be in a film at some point as well. Don't know when that starts filming, but yeah, we're that's going ahead. I announced that earlier on this year, I think, but no, it's full steam ahead at the moment.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely mental. It's like I think you've got a lot on your plate, but you're doing an absolutely fantastic job at managing it. And again, it's like the
Yeah,
stuff you're producing, super top notch, really great quality. So
thanks,
yeah, I
man.
mean, Tom, congratulations on everything, mate. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
It's been great. No, really enjoyed it.